Just from my vantage point, I want to thank you again for coming out. This is the second night in a row. As Councillor Yankoff said, we've been here a long time. It depends on the presentation that will follow after the council meeting, but I'm sure you have lots of questions.
Just to clarify, Your Worship, I wasn't asking because I was in any rush.
Oh, no, no,
I'm happy
no.
to represent the
Oh, no.
residents of Ward 1.
Understand that. I just
It's
wanted
just
to
a
say that
question.
it's beautiful weather out there, and clarifying my remarks is that people want to take advantage of the summer.
Thank
Okay,
you.
declarations of conflict of interest.
Seeing none, Your Worship.
None? Okay,
Taking over.
approval of agenda.
I'll approve it, sir. Second to Councilor Duffy.
Okay. So approval of agenda. This is not an item that you're going to add, is it, Councilor Bernard?
No, it's not.
No.
Just additional information.
Okay,
in the packet.
so we have the second reading to establish the COVID-19 temporary patio program. And again, this is attached. And there's no discussion on it. Shall it carry?
Pass.
Okay, Councillor Duran, did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Shall it carry?
And it's moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Ramsey. Your Worship, therefore be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown COVID-19 temporary patio program bylaw be read a second time, and that the said bylaw be now adopted, Your Worship.
Okay. Shall it carry?
Carrie?
Carry.
Can I ask a question on this, though, Your Worship?
Go ahead.
I know it's second reading. I'm just wondering why we're not charging for those people that have currently had these patios, but now that we're trying to help them because of COVID-19, these new ones, we're charging them. Why wouldn't it all be free?
The current permit holders, their fee has been deferred until September 30th, correct, Chief? And that's $600.
That's right, Your Worship.
Yeah.
And
And this is at $300, correct?
Correct.
and these will also be worked on, they don't have to pay up front, and to give them a chance to make some money, and then we'll have that discussion.
Well, they're all due in September, what you're
Yes.
saying.
We're looking at
Approximately.
September 30th, a good clarification for both the patios that are in place right now that are erected and for the temporary. And remember, Councilor Bernard, this is only for 1 year.
Yep, yep.
Okay. Item number 2, financial resolution, extend insurance coverage.
Do you want to bring it?
You want to speak to it, Councilor Bernard?
If I can, yeah, Your Worship. This went through the Finance Committee. We did ask our Finance Manager to look into the implications of going to tender. There's a lot of talk in the insurance industry that the rates have gone up quite a bit. So we wanted to get a hold of someone that there was no conflict, there was no financial gain or anything like that. So the manager got a hold of a gentleman in Stephen White's his name from Somerset Insurance Consulting. I passed out, that's the sheet of paper that everybody's got. Basically what this gentleman is saying is that from what he sees, because we're also asking for, what's it called there?
Cyber insurance.
Cyber, yes, the purchasing of cyber coverage. I thought there was another coverage we were looking for, cyber and something else.
The cyber is a new policy that we did not have before.
Yes, okay. Anyway, the increase to property premiums are of about 20%. So my understanding is, from what we got back from this consultant was, with the increase that we're expecting for cyber insurance and for the new assets that we have with the city, expecting it to go up approximately 10%.
$35,000 for the cyber coverage, and that's for $2 million.
Yeah. But overall, the insurance coverage for the city of Charlottetown would go up between
20 and 30.
pardon me?
Between 20 and 30%.
No, the ones for us is 7%.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the actual increase is 5% because if you're comparing what we had last year, but due to the increase in acquisition, the cost of the vehicles have gone up. Obviously, the more you own, the more it costs. So our net increase is 7%, and then there's also the cyber insurance at $35,000.
Right, but I think the point I'm trying to make is so for us to stay with the company we're at, we're looking at approximately 7% increase.
Correct.
To go to the market, they're suggesting it would be 20 to 30% increase.
He's saying that it was in the marketplace going from 10 to 20%, and there are a few of his clients that paid 20% increase by going to the marketplace. So due to the current market conditions and the current COVID situation, they recommended that we hold off for a year before we go to the marketplace. So we
So this-
negotiated with the current provider, and we're able to keep our costs down.
So this is for 1 year
That's correct.
1 year, yeah. Okay.
with increased,
Cyber coverage. Your Worship.
increased service through cyber. So what's it up from last year, Councillor?
It was approximately $575 last year, give or take, and now it's going to $625,865, Your Worship. So it's moved by Councillor Bernard, second by Councillor Rivard, that council approve an additional year extension to the city's current comprehensive insurance coverage with Cook Insurance Group through Marsh in Canada Limited at a cost of $625,865 plus applicable taxes inclusive of providing cyber coverage, Your Worship.
Questions?
Can I have a question on that, Your Worship?
Yes, Councillor Bob, Ron, go ahead.
Okay, I just did a little work there. I have some concerns of how we're here again. You know, I think this contract went out in July 2015. It was for a 1-year contract, and then we could look at it again. So in 2016, you know, they were doing a good job, so we said, okay, we'll give them 2 more years. That was in the contract. So that was 3 years. Now we're up to 2018, 2019. I can't find anything on that. But last year, we went above and beyond, and we gave them another year, you know, without going to tender. So now we're here again, and we're saying, okay, we'll give you another year without going to tender. Like this will be 5 or 6 years that we never went out. You know, I think that, you know, I don't know how to put it, but, you know, can we keep doing this? Like, I thought being fair is give a couple of years contract, and if we're both happy, give another year. That's in the contract. But when you go to give 5 or 6 years without going to the marketplace or going out to tender, it really concerns me. I think we should go out, and that's why I can't support it. I mean, it's my opinion, and, you know, that's why there's 10 councillors. But I just think that, you know, it should be something that we go to tender and we do what I feel is the right thing on this. I just can't understand how we can keep giving year after year after year.
Correct me if
That's
I'm wrong,
that's my
Councillor
concern. Thank
Bernard.
you.
Did we just extend it from last year? Was it extended the year before?
The original contract, there was an extension for a year,
In 2018?
and then we extended it another year.
Yeah.
Last year.
So this is the third extension.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer what he asked?
I think for me, I guess what the answer comes down to is what's the benefit to the city? And what we're getting from our professionals here is that if you go to the marketplace today, you can expect a 20% increase. Beside that, you also, I mean, different times have brought up in this council about having local provide. We have a local provider right now. If council wishes to go to tender, that's fine. You just, from rational advice that we're getting, that right now in the marketplace, you're better to wait till things cool off, and that you're gonna end up paying more.
So in order to go to tender, we would defeat this.
That's correct, Your
Yeah.
Worship.
That defeats this.
That's right. Any other questions?
Just, I'm trying to understand it all, because, thanks, would these people not quote at the same quote if they went to tender at 7% increase? Maybe. Like, if they're telling us they'll do it for 7%, would they not just commit as a quote, 7%?
Well, the tender process is involved.
Yeah.
So that would incur them costs to create the tender, the response and stuff. So I would expect they would try to recover that So they would come back with us with a greater increase in 7%. They need to recoup their cost. To
13%.
offset that with the opportunity that others may compete with them. When we entered into conversations with the consultant last winter, it was indicated to me by Stephen White that we would be looking at significant increases. So then the decision back and forth with him was, okay, what's the marketplace? He said at that point in time, the insurance industries were in the building up reserves. They had experienced several years of high claims due to floods and what have you. They were in the process of building up their reserves, so that obviously comes out in your premiums. And he said you're looking at 30% increases. You know, it is that's when I had the conversation with him. If we could negotiate a price, would that be a better approach? He said, well, you take a look at that and see what comes back with that. And when it come back at this, we felt that in the interest of getting coverage in a sure price this way, as opposed to what a tender result may reveal, this was the better approach at this point in time. The industry is changing. The industry is the company that provided us the insurance last year, the JTL, the underwriter. They have since been bought out by Marsh Canada, who is providing this coverage. So there's all kinds of scenarios that occur within that industries that change their pricing. And at this point in time, and I'm no expert in the insurance industry, but Mr. White is. He advises a lot of municipalities in Ontario regarding their insurance requirements, and he indicated to us that this was a reasonable approach to the city at this point in time, and that's why we're here tonight.
Could I
Mark,
ask one question,
Mark.
there, Your Worship?
Could you just make sure you put the mic, can you push it over there? Just want to make sure you.
Councillor Duran.
Yep, nope. Councillor Duffy first there, Councillor Duran.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, from a personal point of view, everyone in this room, I think, if they were had an insurance carrier and that insurance carrier was to offer them an extension of their coverage with an increase of 7%, and you got an informed opinion from somebody in the industry that most increases going these days are somewhere between the 20% and 25%. I think as an individual, I would certainly renew my 7% coverage with the company I'm with. If I listen to people that know what they're talking about, which I do. So I don't know why we're even debating it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duran.
Thank you. I'm just, like I say, why don't we do this with paving or something else? If we're getting a good deal from a paver, why don't we just stick with them for 5 or 6 years? Because the cost of paving might go up. You know, you can't sit here, I shop around all the time for insurance or for car tires or whatever. If you keep saying we're going to give it to the original insurance or car guy or pavement guy, we don't get to test the market. You know, you don't get to see if you get a better price. I just feel, my own personal opinion, is that we should be going to tender to give everybody a fair shot. We shouldn't just be giving it another year extension because of what a certain company said that they could do. There might be a new company out there that's just starting up that wants to get some good coverage. You know, I think 6 years to get the same contract to the same person is, in my opinion, you know, not right. But again, my opinion, you know, everybody can vote whatever way they want, but I just think it should go to tender, give everybody a chance. Thank you.
Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think one thing the Finance Committee tries to do is what's best for the city of Charlottetown. I think if you look back, the last time we went to tender before this one was probably 20 years that we had an insurance provider. So that's why we went after the professional advice that we did get. That's why we went to a consultant that we did go to. That's why we went to one that had no financial gain or anything. Just give us the advice. Right. And the advice was that the way we're doing it here is the best way for the city of Charlottetown right now.
Yeah.
So that's why we're recommending that. Council can go the way they want, but that's coming from the professionals in the business. And for us to make the recommendations, we always put our recommendation on what's best for the city.
Yeah. Councillor Twill.
I can understand the rationale on both sides of the equation. I can recall asking those questions back several years ago when we didn't go to tender, and then lo and behold, when we did go to tender, we saved the taxpayers, I think it was about $300,000. So I do understand that side of the argument. I do understand the other side of the argument. You know, what's fair, what's transparent in terms of giving businesses. You know, I don't know who this gentleman is. I guess he's the foremost expert in Somerset insurance consulting. So, you know, if he's got the credibility and he has the, you know, the expertise, and he put it right in, and recommendation coming from the staff in the finance department and the committee. The question I have though is, you know, last night I talked about, you know, and as you pointed out, it's a local firm, which is great, but we have many local firms. How does this line up with the MGA? You know, you hear a lot about the MGA, that there's certain things we can do, there's certain things we can't do. So could someone here please cite for me the section of the MGA where we're permitted to do this? What part of the MGA is that? What section? Everybody got that?
That's a good question, but I think it's a tender for a service we're getting. That'd be no different than a tender for paving.
No, I don't want the MGA, I want the section.
And
You have the
then
section?
it wouldn't be any different for a tender relating to buying vehicles. Does that be in the MGA?
No, it's just in the MGA,
It's just,
how
it's
you
just,
go about tender.
it's just governing, that's all this is about.
So
This-
there's no section in the MGA?
Unless it breaks something, it contravenes this MGA. Just remember, the Municipal Government Act is just an act that is an umbrella of how we operate as a municipality, and it's for the whole island. So I don't think it has any relevance.
Like,
So-
you know, the MGA, you know,
Well,
I
I
think,
mean, the reason why I bring it up, because Greg Rivera brought it up last night.
Councillor Rivard.
Councilor Rivera brought it up last night, right? So I was thinking about what he was thinking, I'm thinking, okay, well, what section was he referring to
Yeah.
of the MGA? And, you know, are we just using the MGA from a global perspective? Or are we using it from you know, specifics in particular, so we can actually point to the MGA and the justification is, yes, we're within our,
Yeah.
you know, we're within our rights to do this. Like, I understand the rationale.
Yeah, and I think-
I think the only thing that's throwing me off, ever since this new MGA has come into existence, it's that,
It's
you know,
referenced
we
to.
can't accept the lowest tender, or we can't do this, we can't do that, because the MGA said so.
Yeah.
So if the MGA said so, I'd like to know,
Yeah.
in my own mind, what is the section that we're referring to when it comes to the MGA?
Yeah.
yeah, and I think, Mr. We're getting off track, is that if you go to tender, then you're tied into the Atlantic procurement policy under the MGA. So you've gone, so you can't go to tender and then say, I don't like the results, and we don't have to take the lowest tender, so I want to take somebody else. You're tied to it. In this case here, it's up to us whether we want to go to tender or not.
Yeah.
We have a provider now, we've negotiated, so.
Terry, I'm not
Okay.
disagreeing with you.
Yeah. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Worship. I searched the word tender in the MGA,
Yeah.
and there's no mention of tenders.
No mention of tender. Then, with all due respect, Councilor Duffy, why do we keep referring to the MGA when it comes to tenders?
I didn't refer to the MGA.
Well,
It's
Mr. Kelly, maybe you can help me.
it's the Atlantic Procurement Agreement that the council refers to.
And the procurement agreement is not in the Municipal Government Act either. That's a separate agreement amongst the four Atlantic
It's
provinces.
just a way
But
to
it's
get
a
the best
procurement that
deal.
we have to follow.
Of course.
Once you send out the
I know
tenders,
that.
you have to follow it.
Yeah.
And
You
I
get
think
the
that's
best
where
deal for the
council-
taxpayer.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm trying to understand this new legislation and how applicable
Yeah.
it is and how it kind of factors in an indispensable way and how we make our decisions.
Yeah. It, again, the Municipal Government Act sets out the parameters how we govern as a municipality.
But there's no section, and as Councilor Duffy pointed
No,
out,
none
there's no
intended.
reference to a tender.
No. Question?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the only question right now is, you know, from what we're getting back from our professional, the advice we're getting is you can sign for a 7% increase, or you can sign for 20 to 25%.
Yeah.
So
Council-
that's what council has to decide.
Councillor Yankoff.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Councillor Duran's comment, and I agree with him. Last year, I do remember sitting here about this time last year discussing whether or not we were going to extend this service provider for another year. And we agreed at that time we would, but that this year we would not. But given COVID, we weren't able to get a lot of that back work done and get this out to tender. So I have a tendency to agree with the recommendation from Mr. White that we leave it for another year, and hopefully we don't have COVID next year and we have, more time, and we can
Flush
perhaps
it.
take it out to tender then.
Okay. Question?
Questions called?
Questions called. Councillor McLeod, yea or nay?
In favor.
Councillor Twill,
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff,
In favor.
Councillor Rivard,
In favor.
Councillor Drawn,
Not in favor.
Deputy,
In favor.
Councillor Bernard,
In favor.
Councillor McCabe,
In favor.
Councillor Duffy,
In favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Okay. Give the next one there, sir.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by Deputy Mayor Cody, second by Councilor McCabe. Whereas the City of Charlottetown passed a policy resolution April 10th, 2000, that the City Council confirm its policy not to entertain applications for water services to properties outside the municipal boundary of the City of Charlottetown without first receiving approval from the City Council to do so. Be resolved that City Council approves the request for service received from Brendan McKenna, and that the request is for a single water service to 608-614 Brackley Point Road, PID 671-834, within the community of Brackley. In the event of a future subdivision of the property, there would be a need for additional service connection. Be it further resolved that the cost associated with the providing the service or any future service would be paid by the property owner, as well as service would be billed for 25% premium as a surcharge for the services provided outside the City of Charlottetown municipal boundary, Your Worship.
Okay. Mr. Cody, you want to talk about that, or it's standard?
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Good. Question?
Questions called.
Let's go. Councillor McLeod. Councillor Twill. Councillor Yankoff.
In favor.
Councillor Rivard.
In favor.
Councillor Drawn.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bernard.
Favor.
Councillor McCabe.
In favor.
Councillor Duffy.
Favor.
And Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Okay. Hopefully that means more customers. Expand the service. Expand that revenue base.
Good deal, another sweetheart deal.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So we're on to the next item. The Sir John A. Macdonald piece of art. So it was deferred last week to here we are today. In the meantime, there was some vandalism done to the statue. Mr. Kelly reported to me that the cost was $1,200 to sandblast it. Plus, we have to bring the artist up from Pueblo, Colorado. His name is Michael Halderman, and we can't bring him up yet because of the closure of the borders between Canada and the United States. So, Mr. Kelly, do we pay for that too?
If I could just clarify, Your Worship, the cost to date is $1,200. Approximately the cost to sandblast was $600, but there's another cost we had to incur along the way.
So we're up to 1,800, right?
No, Your Worship. Total cost right now is approximately $1,200.
Up to this point.
Once we bring the artist up, there will be additional costs that we'll have to incur, Your Worship, because he has to do special applications to the statue, Your Worship.
Yeah. And we've received lots of emails, Facebook messages, text messages, phone calls. Now, we can take a vote, or we can just leave it as status quo. And Councillor Yankoff suggested that we reach out to the Aboriginal community and other interested parties. And Janine Woolrich, who is with the Onaway organization, which is a Mi'kmaq rights initiative that sponsors this organization. She has sent me an email. I will forward the email to you. She wants to begin a dialogue on how we can reconcile the differences, but in no way is she looking at throwing out history. We have to look at learning from history so we don't repeat the same mistakes in the future.
And I think, you know, from all the emails that everybody's got, I think at the end of the day, there's certainly a lot of history in Sir John A. Macdonald. Is it all good? The majority of it's good. Is there some bad? Yeah, there's some bad. And I think the recommendation to put the plaque and talk about the good and the bad is the thing to do. I don't think just by getting rid of a statue doesn't get rid of history. I think things that are done in history are done. There's no change in history. So that would be, you know, and I think everybody, that's most of the recommendations were, and that would be mine also. I don't think anyone wants to, or the majority of people, I don't think want to see statues removed.
No.
So,
Can I just go, sorry, can I go with Councillor Ramsey? Because he
Sure
has
thing.
his hand
Yeah.
up there, he's
Yeah.
waving it.
Yes, Worship, thank you very much. And I'm the same way, is that if we can have the Aboriginal people involved into with our Commerce Department and have the history and the heritage people all involved, and this is only my personal thing, and have another plaque, and then you don't gotta go 18 feet long, but put it on there and then put a website on it for further information, and I think along that line, but as one article stated, just because you remove the statue does not, you know, on the heel, the hurt does not stop.
That's right.
You know, so things like that. So you're reading an awful lot of different of the comments, but every one that I read, like they want it left there and people learn by your mistakes.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor.
And that's
Councillor
my
Yankoff.
sense.
I'm just wondering, just in a follow-up to that email that I had sent to your office along with the other councillors, have you reached out to the Native Council and the Mi'kmaq Confederacy and any of the other Indigenous groups?
Janine contacted me through Matt McGuire. Matt works downtown, so I reached out to her, and her response was, let's build a coalition to address this issue. And I think she wants to look at it from a Mi'kmaq perspective. Let's get people involved and have a fruitful discussion on where we want to go with it. But in terms
So
of
if there is a
what,
fruitful discussion, the Native Council and MCPEI will be part of those
extend the invitation to them also, yeah. And again, Councillor Yankoff, it's just to continue the conversation and to find a resolution, because this did come up about 2 years ago, Councillor Bernard. I don't know if you heard of it. I don't know how well it was, how much discussion took place, but it did come up, and it's going to keep coming up if we don't address it. And I think this is what the Onaway organization want to do. They want to bring the partners into the fold. And you know what? First Nations people have many more issues other than statues.
Yeah.
You know, there are many issues, as we know from going to the FCN.
Yeah.
First Nations in Western Canada, in Ontario or in Central Canada, don't have access to fresh water. They don't have access to a proper sanitation system. They don't have access to good, you know, equitable, fair and open job opportunities. So there are many other issues I think we're not going to tackle,
Yeah.
but at least we know that
You're right.
we're trying to address them. So some
And I
dialogue.
think, Your Worship, it's a bigger issue than just the city of Charlotte.
It is.
I mean, it's not only island-wide, it's probably Canada-wide.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at every license plate in PEI, and what's on the license plate? Provinces. I mean, PEI sells itself as the birthplace of Confederation.
Yeah.
So this was obviously one of the founding fathers, the first prime minister. So I think you work with the different groups, and you tell the whole history.
Yeah.
So
And Councillor Yankoff can back me up. At the last Friday night, Richard Lush, who was the MC, talked about the significance of living in Charlottetown, the birthplace of a nation, how we should be so proud of it. So their speeches were not attacking the system that we have now.
no.
Councillor Rivard,
I would just want to make sure that, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Councillor Rivard, that the Indigenous people are part and a huge part of those
Discussion.
ongoing discussions.
Well, they should be.
It will be. Councillor Rivard.
Sorry for interrupting.
No problem. Thank you, Your Worship. I know that you've been doing some media
on this topic, and probably to face it from a city council perspective from here. I would have seen the emails that were forwarded to you and forwarded to us. I guess my question really, I mean, I guess it goes back to a statement that you made when you first got elected about you being the leader amongst leaders.
Yep.
I guess my question to you in this situation would be, you know, seeing that you've had, you know, the dialogue, probably more involved than anybody here in the room. What's your take on this? What's your thoughts?
On the public piece of art? Yes.
What would be your recommendation?
Leave as is, and as Councillor Yankoff said, start the conversation, get the dialogue going, and provide as much information as we can of the whole picture that represents Sir John A. McDonagh. That's mine.
And I concur.
Yeah. Councillor Tweel?
Yeah, last week, this issue came to the forefront. There were a number of things that went through my mind. One is I didn't support unanimously for council to take a vote last week, because number one, I felt the community, A, was not engaged, not really informed. What concerned me was we were going to have a discussion behind closed doors. We were criticized for that. We were criticized for not, and I don't know how that decision or how that strategy unfolded, where they were going to have a discussion in camera and then open the door and make the decision. I'm not sure how all of that unfolded, but I did say, and I did recommend that this issue should go back to the appropriate committee, economic development, which I'm a member of. Economic development, tourism, special events. We do have a citizens committee chaired by Barb McLeod, and they're responsible for arts and culture, which includes statues and memorials and whatnot. So what I propose, not only discussing with the Aboriginal and Indigenous people, what I propose is taking a comprehensive look, if not just this particular issue, all of our statutes, and making sure that we, in that comprehensive, extensive look, that we have a broader policy so all our citizens can become involved, and that it is truly all-inclusive, and that it is truly diversified. But the standing committee that is responsible is the Economic Development, Tourism, and Special Events. And I think maybe from there, we could even form a subcommittee, which would be mandated, ensure that we have, you know, accurate history, objective, true, accurate history, that people can say, yeah, that's exactly what did take place. And you know, this issue is not just concerning, as was pointed out here, it's not just concerning the city of Charlottetown, but the unique, important thing to remember is this is where Confederation started. The discussion started here. So maybe we can parallel what the discussions were back a number of years ago, well over 100 years ago, and we could be the leaders in providing that history and providing that accurate information, so that the pain and suffering that took place with the Indigenous people, I mean, we're not going to be able to eliminate that pain and suffering, and we're not going to be able to say that we can identify and relate to it, because we can't. But what we can try to do is work with all members of our community to make sure that our comprehensive analysis and examination is something that we can say, here's finally the accurate information. And I believe it's more than just a plaque. I think a plaque is, you know, that's great, we can put a plaque, but I think we gotta go a step further. We have to go a lot further. And so that's why, Your Worship, I believe this should go back to the Economic Development, Tourism and Special Events Committee. Subcommittee should be formulated from there with a mandate to go out, do the research and get people involved and really come up with a comprehensive strategy. Not just for the monument for John A. McDonagh, but all our statutes and all our memorials and the history and the objective facts. So that's what I'm proposing, and I thought a lot of it over the last week as to what is the best way to go. I do believe we need to take a comprehensive look, a much comprehensive look.
Okay. Councillor Rivard?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's not that I necessarily disagree with Councillor Tweel. It's just, I guess I'm trying to figure out, and maybe someone can help me in this room. I tend to think I'm a pretty smart fellow, but what's the end goal here? I mean, are we voting on removing the statute or not removing the statute? I mean, there's no reason why open dialogue can't continue through committee structure or whatever it may be. But I guess I'm trying to figure out, you know, is tonight about voting on what to do with the statute, or is it basically a catch-all that says, you know, we're going to keep talks open and try to figure out, you know, the best way of explaining history, or I guess I'm trying to figure out what the end goal is here. I mean, again, are we voting on the statute tonight? Is that the goal? And that's the end, or are we voting on the statute and saying that we're going to absolutely continue to have open dialogue with?
Yeah. So I brought the issue up with Mr. Kelly before the meeting. I don't think we ever voted to put that statue down there. That statue was installed as part of, I think, the 2014 celebrations.
Yes, it was, Your Worship.
Yeah. So that no vote was ever taken to put it there. So I don't think we need a vote to leave it there. It's if we all agree, which I sense that we do agree, to leave it as is, status quo, unless I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. I think what we're agreeing to is the statute.
Do you want to vote?
I think what we're saying is the statute is staying.
Yeah.
And we
Open the
put up a
dialogue.
plaque and the information on the history,
Yeah.
full history. How you go about that, I think Councillor Yankoff had recommended a couple of groups that you want to get on board, probably an expert in history. And the three identities, come up with the wording that we'd like to see.
That's right.
That can come back to us.
Councillor Duffy raised his hand there. He just waited.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be very short. I think we should vote for the sake of documentation.
Okay.
I mean, when we investigated this whole issue, we didn't know how many parties were involved, who were members of the parties representing various factions around the city, how much the cost was. There's so many things we didn't know, and so much things were just word of mouth, and no one was really sure whether it was true or not. So I don't have any problem with having a vote. But we vote on everything else from work boots to hockey rinks, so why wouldn't we vote on this? The people have asked us loud and clear to either support one faction or to remove the other faction. I think we need something for the record. Thank
Okay.
you.
Do you wish to move a resolution? then,
Sure,
Councillor
yes,
Duffy?
I will
Can
do
you
that.
just give us some wording on it, and then we'll get it seconded?
Well,
Let's just do that right now.
the essence of it would be that City Council has considered statute of John A. MacDonald at the corner.
Of Queen and Richmond remain.
Richmond, and the council considers that the statute remains, along with further follow-up with interested support groups and interested parties.
Did you get that down, Mr. Kelly? Sure.
I'll
We
second.
don't still have shorthand. Well, while we're doing that, can we just go to Councillor McLeod? Did you have your hand up, Councillor McLeod?
Just to make sure when we, I think it's important that we do a very good PR piece on this. I think it's important that we reach out not only to one or two or three groups, there's the whole Newcomers Association.
Yeah.
There's various people that have been here not only for 1 year or 2 years. We've got members in the community that are here for 10, 12 years, and they're very proud to be called a Canadian. Right? And the history that we have, we're a young country, and we're some statesmen. We're only 150 years old. Like, you know, there are probably things that we'd like to look back at, and that's like everything, right? You can look backwards and say, gee, you know what? Maybe we should have. But they did the best job they could, the fathers, at the time with all the information that they had. Right? And I think it's important that we make sure that we understand that history is a very big part of what we are and who we are. And that's the reason why we have the choice to make an opinion on anything, right? That's where
Good point.
So I think it's very important that we make sure we put good PRPs out in this, so that please, no more damage. Let's sit and have good conversation.
Yeah.
Whether it's through the committee or through council,
Right.
as long as we have the communication piece there, I think, and make sure that we invite all newcomers, just not one or two different groups, because there's a lot of opinions out there. And I would second Mr. Duffy's motion.
Good. So moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor McLeod. We don't have to read that yet.
George?
Yeah, we're waiting. Councillor Twill?
Just want to respond to Councilor Regard. Yeah, so you're trying to understand where my perspective's coming from. Number one, I didn't say that not having a vote.
No, I didn't say
No,
Councilor Twill. I said where was the end goal for this whole thing?
The end goal,
Not your comments.
Pardon me?
I wasn't referring to
Okay,
your comments.
but I believe the end goal, I mean, well, Councillor Duffy's correct. You know, I'm good either way. Want to have a vote? Let's have a vote. But I think this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this, that's why I talked about a comprehensive strategy that, as Councilor McConnell pointed out, would include a lot of people. But we gotta do this in a very methodical way. Again, want to reiterate, it's not just about putting up a plaque. It's reaching out to the community, it's consulting with people from, whether you're here 175 years, 150 years, 125, whatever the case may be. We want to be an all-inclusive society. And I believe, you know, for the most, we're not perfect people.
No.
I think we're doing not a bad job.
Yeah.
I think we're doing a pretty good job. We're not perfect. Nobody says we are. But, you know, for all intents and purposes, I think we are, you know, I mean, we're willing to take those steps and bring in those recommendations and again, do things in a very methodical way. So I would like to put that in the resolution, that this go back to the Economic Development Committee, Economic Tourism and Events Committee, and to be mandated with that task, take some time and then report back to council. So that we are all inclusive in our strategy, in our discussions, in our research, so that we do our due diligence and people can say, City Council is actually, you know, they're really taking this serious and we applaud them on their examination and their involvement and wanting to reach out to the community.
Thank you, Councillor Tweedle. I just want to say one thing, Councillor Tweedle. I do respect your remarks because I know your family and all they've done for this city, and your father came here as an immigrant, correct?
That's correct.
And all the work that your association has done for the community. I respect that because you're coming from a first person's perspective too on what it's like to be a new immigrant in the country. I know you're second generation here. Thank you very kindly. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Tweel, for your remarks. I don't think you need a resolution to forward it back to the Committee of Tourism, Arts and Culture and Economic Development. The terms of reference for that particular committee covers this sort of thing. What we're trying to do clearly tonight is to make a decision on whether the statue stays or the statue goes.
That's right.
And I think if we take a vote on that, and then Councillor Ramsey, who chairs the Economic Development, Culture, Tourism, and the Arts, it's under his watchful eye that it's there already, i.e. by the terms of reference of that committee. So
Yeah, I don't think we need, you're saying the resolution doesn't have to be that specific, because if every resolution was that specific, but it will happen, because it's in the minutes.
It will go back there automatically. I mean,
Yeah,
we're saying we want the history on the plan.
So it'll back there so that all members of council understand that, I don't know if you want to say the word urgency, but that there's a commitment made by all council that in the event that it goes back to the standing committee, that, you know, some deliberations and some work, hardcore work begins.
Yeah.
Like I said, this isn't the end, this is just the beginning.
Councillor Tweedle, I just want to reiterate Councillor Duffy. His resolution is very clear. We approve of leaving leaving that piece of art of John A. Macdonald at the corner of Queen and Richmond, right? And the committee it falls to is economic development.
That's right. Gotta make sure.
It's in the minutes. Councillor Ramsey, Chairman of Economic Development.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And I think Councillor Tweel, when he brought that up last week, and in the meantime, Councillor Tweel, I talked to our comps department, I talked to the mayor one-on-one a little bit, talked to Mr. Kelly, I talked to our people downstairs. Like, I just didn't sweep it away when you brought that up last week. I just want you to know, and I got some facts here for you, some figures what it costs. As the mayor said, it was brought in 2014 under ACOA, under downtown Charlottetown and everything along that line. But as the mayor stated earlier, that we're gonna have groups in, and I'm in favor, and I'm in support of you, of having everybody with their input in it. I mean, just not the indigenous and all that stuff, but everybody's history. So things like that, so I'm in full support, and we'll discuss it at our next economic development meeting.
And you know what, Councillor Ramsey? I have to correct myself. The statue was placed at the end of October 2009, and it was a an agreement amongst the City of Charlottetown, Downtown Charlottetown, Inc.,
Right.
Tourism Charlottetown, CADC. I believe ACOA was involved.
Yes, they were.
And the total cost of not just the statue, but wayward signage, storyboards, sculptures, kiosk, was $490,000.
Yeah.
So, may the record show that it was
And the statute was
October
75.
2009, and I think the official christening was in 2010, Councillor Bernard, I think it was?
Yeah, and the statute was 75,000.
election year, I remember.
Yeah, that's right.
The statute was 75,000, well, that's
Yeah, oh, no, up that 487,000.
just
That's
make
right.
that clear, yeah.
So, that's just to clarify the record.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship.
Yes, Councillor Twill?
Yeah, the statues in front of the Great George Inn. What was the cost of those two?
That is not part of this discussion.
No, just
But we can find that out when it goes to committee.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir?
Okay.
So, question?
Questions called?
Questions called. You want to read the resolution there, Mr. Kelly? Huh? You got those signatures? You're not being the Sergeant of Arms tonight?
Need a springboard.
The Sergeant of Arms last night. Point of order. Checking the grammar there, you Councillor Duffy.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Had it done on high.
Just before we do the vote, I want to appreciate the discussion we had tonight and Councillor Twill, Deputy, for deferring it to tonight because I think it was aired quite well, and I want to thank the mover and the seconder of the resolution, Councillors Duffy and McLeod. Ward 2.
So, Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor McLeod, that City Council endorse the statue of Sir John A. Macdonald remain in place, and further, that the city bring the appropriate stakeholders together to determine best steps forward, so to recognize that the full story be told, and in particular involve the Native Council, MCPEI, and El Nui to ensure direct input to bring result, Your Worship.
So, how did you spell? Yeah, it's pronounced Olnui, but it's, okay, you got it. Okay. Councillor McLeod, yea or nay?
In favor.
Councillor Twill,
In favor.
Councillor Yankoff,
In favor.
Councillor Rivera,
In favor.
Councillor Duran,
In favor?
Deputy,
In favor.
Councillor Bernard, Councillor McKay,
Favor.
Councillor Duffy,
in favor.
Councillor Ramsey.
In favor.
Thank you very much. Where did you get the spelling for that?
Peter,
Oh, nay, where did you get the spelling for it?
Peter. I want to see a copy of that, please.
Okay, so the next part of the agenda is to move into a closed session as per section 119, subsection 1H of the Municipal Government of Act of Prince Edward Island. Mover? Moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Ramsey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Close the doors.
Okay.